Hi all, this is BRR. Welcome to BRR Knowledge Hub. In this video session, we'll talk about OAuth 2.0 protocol. So what is OAuth 2.0 protocol and why this OAuth is needed? And what is the architecture of OAuth 2.0 protocol? Okay, so OAuth 2.0 is an open authorization protocol which allows accessing the resources of the resource owner by enabling the client applications on HTTP services such as Facebook, GitHub, etc. So this protocol allows sharing of resources stored on one side to another side without using their credentials. So generally, the purpose of this OAuth is this is open standard for access delegation, commonly used as a way for internet users to grant websites or application access to their information on other websites without giving them the passwords and the credentials. So why it is required in the sense sometimes as a server just needs to control access to its own content. So two-leg authentication allows the client to authenticate the user directly with the server. So this OAuth 2.0 protocol standardizes some extensions to OAuth 1 that are in wide use, and OAuth 2 as a resource owner and password credentials we need to provide it in this latest 2.0 protocol. So if you look at this diagram, this architecture of OAuth 2.0 architecture. So as I told you, this is open authorization protocol, which will allow accessing of the resources from the resource owner. So this is the resource owner, and this is the authorization server, and this is the resource server, and this is the client where the application browsing starts from here. So as I told you, like this OAuth is open source or open authorization protocol, which will allows accessing of resources from the resource owner by enabling the client applications on HTTP services such as the social networks like Facebook, GitHub, and the Orkut, this LinkedIn kind of things. So basically, it allows sharing of resources stored in one side to another side without using their credentials. So we can use OAuth 2.0 to read user data from another application, and that is one of the uses. And also it provides the authorization workflow for web and desktop applications and mobile devices. And it is a server-side web application that uses authorization server and does not interact with the user credentials. Okay. So if you look at here, we have 4 sections here. This is where we are starting to browse the application here, client, web application here. So this particular thing will interact with the resource owner to enter the credentials, and then he will interact with the authorization server to get the authorization. So that means authentication and authorization. So once it is authenticated, then it will call the authorization to check the access, whether this given credentials of user is having access to access the resources, kind of thing will verify in the authorization. So the advantage of this OAuth 2.0 is very flexible protocol that relies on SSL, that is secure socket layer, that ensures data between the web server and the browser remain private. So based on the user access token. So this OAuth 2.0 relies on SSL, which is used to ensure cryptography industry protocols and are being used to keep the data safe. And also it allows limited access to the user's data and allows accessing when authorization token expire. Okay, and also it has ability to share data for users without having the release personal information. And also it is very easier to implement and provide stronger authentication. So if you look at this diagram, so when you start browsing your application, this application will send a request to the resource owner to grant a permission. Once he give a permission here, and he will send this given credentials to the authorization server to check the authentication and authorization. Once the authentication checks, like the identity of the user is valid, after validating the given credentials, then it will validate the authorization role as well, and then he will send the token to the client. This client will send that access token to the resource owner here. So where this is the web server where our website is deploying here, and he will check for the access token and then gives the resources back to the client. This is the overall flow. If you look at the another diagram here, this is the overall diagram steps. So how the request is processing. So client is nothing but here. This is the browser here, and resource owner is nothing but a user here, like who is entering credentials. And authorization server is nothing but an here in this case I mentioned Auth0, and we have different kind of authorization servers, Auth0, Okta, and TOTP and SMS. So a lot of things we have authorization servers where it checks the authentication and authorization and then it sends the access token back to the client. So first step is user access resource using the client application. Okay, let us take an example of Google or Facebook or Twitter kind of thing. So you will send authorization request to the user, that is resource owner, and the client application. So you will provide the client ID and client password during registration he has done, and then he will send grant to the client application. The client application, what it will do is it will send the granted request to the authorization server. So this authorization server authenticating servers redirect the user to a redirect uniform resource locator using authorization code. The user accesses the page located to the redirect URI in the client application. So the client application will be provided with authentication code, that is an access token kind of thing. So based on that access token, he will send that access token again back to the resource server. This is the web server where we are hosting our application. So this web server will send the protected resources back to the client. So this is the process of OAuth 2.0 flow, like how it is acting, like the different layers here, like resource owner and authorization server and resources server. So while sending credentials like by the resource owner, so grant of authorization and authentication will be validated here and sending the access token back, and access token back again sending to the server. Server will validate this token based on the mapping details, and then it will send the secured and protected resources back to the client. So client authenticates with the authorization server and makes the request for access token from the token endpoint. So once the authentication has done here in the authorization server, it will send the access token back to the client. So this is how it is sending the protected resource back to the client. And when it comes to access token is nothing but a string that identifies user, an application, or a page. The token includes information such as when the token will expire and which application created this token. Firstly, it is necessary to acquire OAuth 2.0 client credentials from API console. Then the access token is requested from the authorization server by the client, and it gets an access token from the response and sends the token to the API that you wish to access from this resource access server. So you must send the user to the authorization endpoint at the beginning, so that how like reaching to your required service or server resource before. So you need to authenticate and authorize by the authorization server. So this is how the OAuth 2.0 protocol is working. So client provides an access token to the resource server to access protected resources. The resource server must validate and verify that access token is valid and hasn't expired or not. So therefore, when it comes to an access token, I just wanted to talk about some more thing about this access token here. So there are two standard ways of sending credentials. One is bearer token. Bearer token is nothing but access token can only be placed in post request body or get URL parameter as a fallback option in the authorization HTTP header. So they are included in the authorization headers as like authorization bearer, so which contains the token details. So this cryptography message authentication code MAC is computed using the elements of the request and is sent to the authorization header. So this is how the access token is sending to the client. So the client holds the access token where it has the expiry date and the user access token with MAC encrypted code. So that is cryptography message authentication code. And the same token, every time it used to send it to the resource server. So in this resource server, this token will get validated and then sent to protected resource. So this is how the OAuth 2.0 protocol have built another layer to validate the credentials before sending the protected resources. So because this is an open authorization protocol, so it provides accessing of resources from the resource owner by enabling the client applications on HTTP services such as the different websites. So generally this is used for sharing the resources stored in one site to another site without using their credentials, because here the credentials are validated, and once the credentials are validated and getting token, so you will directly contact the resource server. This is a different website to get the details of your requested the requested services or endpoints. So here we have two websites here. Authorization server is one website where it provides third-party login integration points. This will validate your user details and sends the request token here, access token. Based on that access token, you'll be interacting with other website where you have different services in this resource server. So I hope you understand the flow here, and the client is interacting, resource owner is interacting the authorization server will send access to here. Based on access token, you will interact with the resource server here. So I hope you understand the architecture of OAuth 2.0, the protocol, like how it is interacting with the different servers. So the style of architecture defined in the OAuth 2.0 and the access token details. So please subscribe this YouTube channel for more videos on these videos. Thank you. Thanks for listening to this video.